Hello and welcome to live post-match reaction to the Chiefs versus the Crusaders in Super Rugby. The Chiefs lost the game 20-34. The Crusaders going on a 10-match unbeaten run and showing why they are one of the favourites for the whole competition this year. Good evening to those of you on the live chat. Hi, Jack and Christian. Great to see you here yet again. But let's just go through this game. Initially, the Crusaders had the better of the play, and one of the interesting things in this game was that they weren't going to be kicking back to this Chiefs side. Clearly, they knew that this Chiefs side had the ability to counter-attack wonderfully with ball in hand, and after being hurt by the Waratahs a couple of weeks back, by doing this, we saw the Crusaders running the ball back a lot through Richard Mo'unga and Israel Dag in particular. They did have some, what's what I'm looking for, gone absolutely blank, which is not very good. They did have some disruptions before this game, losing players. They lost Jack Goodhue, so they had to put Havili in to 12, and with Crotty also out as well. So so they're definitely a makeshift midfield of Havali and Tamani Valu there, and also Whitelock was missing as well. The Chiefs were hardly full strength. I mean, Sam Cane was also missing for them. So let's not say that this was like a full strength Chiefs side against a weakened Crusaders side, but the Crusaders definitely had last minute disruption when they went to the captain's run. They got the first score, caught the Chiefs napping. Everyone expected the Crusaders to kick to the corner, but they didn't. They took a quick tap and went over in at the corner. Richard Mo'unga's kicking has been fantastic, and he got the two from out wide as well. Then the Chiefs did come back, and we had a bit of an exchange of penalties. Really, the Chiefs got theirs first, and then the Crusaders went for it afterwards. What was kind of interesting was that the Crusaders, well, at first they didn't kick for three. They went for the corner to get that first try. But after the Chiefs had gone for three, they took three themselves. So it was interesting to see that change of tactics during the game, choosing when to go for three, when not to go for three, and that sort of balancing out. The Chiefs came back into it with their own try, where they lost the ball, and there were quite a few turnovers in this game, but they hustled to get it back, and then Charlie turned the ball over, did very well to spin to get the ball wide, to get the ball out quickly, and they went over. As I say, there were lots of knock-ons, particularly by the Crusaders in that first half. The Chiefs were putting in some big hits, but they were down in the 70%, about 75, I think it was, percent tackle range, whereas the Crusaders were up in the high 80s, which showed you that the Chiefs really were struggling to break down that Crusaders. They weren't getting their own tackles in. Also, in that first half, the Crusaders' discipline was absolutely spot on. They only gave up one penalty in that first half, whereas the Chiefs were at about 6 or 7 at that point. And we saw that come into effect as the Crusaders came back towards the end of that first half. Line out Maul try. It was the second time of asking, but hey, they got it over. And then they had a penalty just on half time and decided rather than trying to go for the line out Maul, they kicked the three for there. So they led 13-20 at half time. And so whilst not only had they had the possession, and there's like 65% possession, 67% territory in that first half, they had great discipline. They hadn't slipped off tackles, and in reality, perhaps should have been further ahead than they were at that point. But their own mistakes, we had some knock-ons, as I say, were the things that was really kind of holding them back at that time. Going into the second half, and Retallick was off the pitch because with apparently a not serious injury. We'll have to find out, I guess, during the week, see how serious that really was. And the Chiefs scrum just crumbled at that point. I've gone blank. The Crusaders managed to get a pretty easy try, to be honest with you. Sure, the line-out maul was stopped. They came inside. They went back to the back out wide to where the line-out had been, and Bridge was basically unmarked, and they overlap, and he just went over in the corner. Again, Richard Mwanga's kicking was absolutely spot on, made it a 13-27 lead. So whilst Richard Mwanga's kicking was spot on, Damien McKenzie had missed a couple of conversions, which also meant that gap was stretching out. Wyatt Crockett came on for his 200th cap, so congratulations, sir. But he had a bit of a bad time at scrum time when he did come on, giving up a couple of penalties, getting him penalised a few times there. And we saw that the Chiefs could break two. And they had a bunch of opportunities. They only put one away, where they worked the overlap. Great scrambling defence by the Crusaders stopped them, but they came back in and their forwards bashed it over. And definitely the Chiefs had opportunities to score more tries, but the Crusaders' scrambling defence was too good for them, and they just made too many errors. And even though they actually got some more possession in that second half, it wasn't enough, and the Crusaders just came back in the last sort of 15 or so minutes and just shut the game out. So even when the Chiefs had the upper hand, the Crusaders were able to contain them, and when they got the upper hand themselves, they marched down the field, lots of pick and goes by the forwards, and went over to secure the game at 20-34 with about 4 minutes to go. And that was really the tale of this, is that the Crusaders probably could have won by more. Defensively, very strong. Some good tactics in not kicking and not giving the Chiefs the kind of counter-attacking opportunities that players like Damon McKenzie love, and managing to restrict the Chiefs only at 350 metres running with ball in hand. The Crusaders were at 433. Jack mentions the ref missed several forward passes tonight. You could say he either missed them or he considered those to be not forward, and at least his application of the rule was consistent for both sides. He wasn't inconsistently calling them. He called at least one of them say momentum, and so he believed it was momentum that carried it forwards rather than actual forward passes. And so, being as long as he's even with it, the players got to adapt to the referee. So in the end, 100% kicking record from the Crusaders, only 50% by the Chiefs. Dane McKenzie really has to improve that side of it. They said, he had a respectable or a very 75% kicking record. That's for a top-line kicker. That's not that respectable. He needs to be getting that up into the 80s, really, if he wants to be considered an international kicking or fly half. Talking about some of the players, Charlie Nartai had a very good game. Was mixing it up, lots of chips through. Kicking was good as well. Created one of the tries, as we said. Antoinette Brown actually, for me, had a bit of a better game as well, taking it to the line, getting his arms free and offloading. I thought he had with 10 carries. I thought he had a better game tonight. Unfortunately, Pulu, Alimalo, and Waianu perhaps were a bit quiet this game, and would have been they really needed to be released a bit more. Unfortunately, they couldn't. They couldn't get the ball out to them in space, because those three guys have got pace to burn and can be very dangerous. Amongst the forwards, Jacobson was around the park a lot, and Messam looked to be rolling back the years a bit as well, with some of his play. On the Crusaders side, good to see Dag back again and enjoying playing at fullback. Obviously, Havali and Tumanavali made actually a very good centre partnership. Havali playing out of position. He has played centre before, but not for a long time. And he stepped in there and played extremely well. George Bridge obviously has always been is always a bit of a menace. Makulele was perhaps a little bit quiet in this game, and Richard Mwanga ran things pretty well. A shame to see him get cramped towards the end. Let's hope it was just cramp that forced him off the pitch. Amongst the forwards, Barrett had a good game in the. We saw him smuggling through for at least one maul and stopping it. We saw him have a good day at the line-out as well. Blackadder and Bedwell Curtis both got through quite a lot of work with ball in hand as well. On the defensive side of things, Taylor got through 10 tackles and unmissed. Allardyce, Jacobson again, and Karpik were all industrious for the Chiefs with 10, 12 and 14 tackles themselves. The forwards got through a chunk of work. And David Havali as well, 7 tackles, quite a lot of him and Charlie Nartai, quite a lot of runs down their channels as well. So, all in all, this was the Crusaders did this, and there was some talk by the commentators saying that Dave McKenzie hadn't really flashed any magic, but he was taking it to the line, and his short passing game was pretty good tonight. That has come on, as they did mention. Yes, he didn't get the space, and we didn't see his lateral running as much, but he was much more about his passing tonight, and he had a pretty decent game from that. Kicking though really needed to be improved. That's what it came down to. In that first half, the Chiefs, the Crusaders, high tackle percentage and good discipline. That discipline fell off in the second half. When Crockett was culpable for a couple of those, but there were other players also giving up penalties as well, and that brought the penalty count back to being much more even. And at the end of the day, the Crusaders were definitely worthy of their victory. It's the first pick I've got right this weekend now, which was nice to see after the Highlanders upset the Hurricanes, and we also saw earlier the Rebels beating the Blues at Eden Park for their second ever win in New Zealand. So a quick look at the chat. The Chief says DMAC plays better at 15 for the Chiefs. Dave McKenzie is fantastic at 15, but long term 10 is seen as being his position, and so he's got to learn it sooner or later, and that's why I think he's got to be played up there. I do think he's missing James Lowe, who he had a wonderful relationship with as far as passing goes, as far as running and passing and counter-attacking goes, and I think he's missing that this season. Obviously, we're worried about Ritalik's injury, and let's hope that's okay. And let's hope all the players who got injured are okay as well. And say Ritalik went off, Mwanga also went off, and a couple of other players were injured too. Sorry, thank you very much for that. I'll be back tomorrow morning with post-match reaction to South Africa versus Wales, and I will have JB from the Egg Chasers podcast joining me to the live post-match reaction for that. And then I will be back also for the, which one is it? Houston versus Seawolves in the afternoon for live post-match reaction to the Major League Rugby as well. So join me for those games tomorrow, and enjoy whatever rugby you are watching.